The topic of stress is a complex one. There are so many things that contribute to stress, but there are also many things that you can do to help alleviate stress in your life, to help better manage stress in your life. And rather than focusing on everything that's wrong, it's important to focus on how you have the power and the means to bring some ways of helping yourself out in terms of stress, dealing with stress, stress management, and things of that nature. So, one of the things that can trip us up when it comes to stress is our attempts of controlling everything. And this is different for different people. Some people feel the need of being in control to a larger degree than others. But whatever it is for you, it's important that you look at it and consider if it's causing you more stress or if it's just there and not really causing you stress. The reality is that there isn't much that we can control in life, especially when it comes to the outside world, meaning things, circumstances, and people beyond ourselves. We can control ourselves. We can control how we conduct ourselves. We can control our behaviors. We can control what we do on a daily basis. We can control what we put in our mouth, how we eat. We can control whether or not we exercise. So we have a great deal of control when it comes to the self. What we focus on, how we spend our time, who we hang out with, who we spend our time with. But when it comes to the outside world, not so much. That's a lot more difficult. So trying to control the outside world can be a stressful situation, and frankly, it can be a futile attempt. So it's important to remember that while there's a place and time for control, it can't be something that's making things worse. So if it is something that's making things worse, it's time to reconsider. So look at yourself in terms of your control habits. If it's about controlling yourself, okay, that's one thing, right? We're all responsible adults. We should be able to control ourselves. Whenever you hear someone giving an excuse, oh, you made me do this or you made me act like this, that's just nonsense. It was your choice to act a certain way or say a certain thing. So that's when self-control or control in general comes in handy. It's important. We need to be able to conduct ourselves properly, control our emotions, our reactions, what we say, what we do, in order to function in a society, in order to be happy and healthy, and not be out of control. But when it comes to controlling the world around us or controlling others, technically speaking, there's very little that we can do with that. So it's important to be aware of what is it that you're trying to control. Is it internal? Is it within yourself? Or is it external? Are you trying to control other people, your environment, your other situations, or situations outside of your own self and what you do? And then be honest in your response. Are you trying to control everything around you to such a degree where you're a control freak? Look, it's real. No point beating around the bush. Some people are control freaks. They want to control everything. I would argue that there's an issue there internally with a feeling of lack of control that should be addressed with a therapist, a licensed professional. If we're trying to control everything and everybody, we are probably most likely fighting a losing battle. Of course, yes, there are some things external to us that we can control, but not everything. when we have to consider ourselves versus the whole world, our chances of controlling ourselves are a lot better, and what we can control outside of ourselves is pretty small in comparison. So that's important to realize, because if you are fighting a losing battle, such as when you might be trying to control everything around you and everyone around you, you're definitely contributing to your stress level and your anxiety level. So it's so important that you are able to think about this topic and address it properly. What is it that is driving your need to control everything and everybody around you? Might want to talk to someone professionally, a licensed therapist, on this topic. But I want you to know that this can be very real. You might say to yourself, "What? Well, that's just my personality. That's how I am." Oh, sure, that's how you are now. Maybe that's how you've been for years, but it's up to you to change. You can't just give that as an excuse of doing the same thing over and over again. If you're not okay with adding stress to your life with things that don't need to be there, then it's time to recognize if you're trying to control too much that is outside of yourself. And again, like I said, controlling ourselves is key for being healthy and reasonable people, being able to function in a society. But how much we can control outside of ourselves is quite limited in comparison. And if you try to control the world, you are going to keep coming up short and just adding stress into your life. So think about that. I keep saying the same thing over and over for a reason, because I want you to think about that. You may not even realize how much control you're trying to have over things external to yourself. Are you a micromanager? Think about that. Are you a parent who's not letting your kid fall down and scrape their knee because you want to control everything? So you may seek other people's input to have a better understanding of whether or not control issues are your issue. And of course, take everything you hear with a grain of salt. Maybe take an average of the input. If you ask several people, don't just rely on one person's opinion. Don't ask your teenager who you just grounded about how controlling you are, because they'll tell you you're a control freak. And if you ask your employees, the people you micromanage 8 hours a day, who knows if they would feel free to tell you the truth. So ask several people, take the average of what you get for the answers, and that could help you to realize how much you focus on controlling things external to you. But again, this is such an important consideration that goes unexamined far, far too much. People are struggling with stress and anxiety, and stress is, again, a complex topic that has many things come into play, but that's one of those things, and it never seems to be addressed. It never seems to get any time for consideration and discussion, which is why I wanted to make this video for you, and I want to just bring the same point up over and over again. Trying to control too much, especially of things that are not controllable by you, may only add to the stress and anxiety in your life. So, as you conclude watching this video, start thinking about how controlling are you? What are you trying to control in your life? Is it helping you? Is it giving you discipline for yourself? Or are you trying to go beyond that and essentially creating more stress in your life?